Hey everyone, I got something a little bit different on the table today, and that is an EDF. Yeah, that's right. If you guys have been following along, you know that pretty much everything I have is prop driven, especially all my warbirds. I have a lot of World War II airplanes, but I do have one other EDF, that's the UMX A10. So I decided to make the step up into a little bit bigger EDF, and I think the perfect one for me to do that step is this F-16 Fighting Falcon here from E-Flite. It's a 64mm EDF, so 64 millimeters is the fan size in the back. And as you can see from the box here, this is not a huge airplane. This is the type of airplane that I feel very comfortable with getting into the air. It's not this overwhelming, massively complex, expensive, huge airplane. This little guy here is going to be just about the perfect size for me to hand launch, belly land in the grass. It does come with landing gear, and they do work on kind of really well-maintained grass surfaces. So if you have a club, airfield that's well mowed, you can use the landing gear. But I personally love the way the F-16 looks with the gear sucked up. So I'll probably hand launch this. So from that standpoint, it's a great way for me to get into an EDF at a good price point without being horrendously complex and expensive. It doesn't have flaps, it doesn't have retracts. It doesn't have all sorts of stuff on it. I can use my DX6. I don't need to buy a special transmitter or anything. I can use my 6-channel. This does have AS3X. It also has SAFE. So like I said before, I can use my 6-channel. I don't have to add a bigger radio to fly something like this. And it also flies on 2200 3S and 4S batteries, and I have a mountain of those things. I am going to fly this one on 4S. I think that this aircraft really does the best when you fly it on 4S, but it is 3S capable. But I think this is, for me, it's going to be a dedicated 4S bird. So with that said, let's go ahead and dig this guy out of the box, shall we? All right. And this airplane here is really designed for intermediate pilots. This is not something, if you're a brand new pilot, never really flown RC planes before, this is probably not what you want to get into. I think we've all seen that cartoon where the new person comes up to the flying field, talks to the instructor, and he has the F-18 Hornet that goes 100 miles per hour, and he's never flown an airplane before. There's a lot of truth in that little video clip. This isn't something you want to fly as a new pilot. You want to fly a trainer airplane. But if you got experience, let's say you could fly, like for instance, the 1.2 meter warbirds. You're very comfortable flying those. You can fly high wing, you fly low wing airplanes. You can fly. You're very comfortable with faster airplanes as well. You shouldn't really have any trouble with this, especially with SAFE installed on it. Of course, when you do fly with SAFE with like an EDF like this, expect to have very long turning radius as well, because your bank angle is going to be limited. So, and with an airplane of this size, you definitely don't want to let it get too far away from you as well. So just keep those things in mind when you get ready to fly this thing. So here we'll take a look inside the box. Everything is very, very tightly packed. We have the nose cone over here. It looks like we got the wings. You see the fuselage. But it's a very compact box, very tightly put inside here. So let's go ahead and start with this. I've already cut the tape on these pieces of foam here, and it looks like you're gonna have to take this out as an assembly. Here we go. Let's go ahead and just move these off here. That looks like those are the wings sitting there. It has a nose cone. It's a magnetic nose cone, so if you have a hard landing, this is gonna bounce off. However, the pitot tube on the front here, or airspeed probe, or alpha probe, is called a couple different things here. This has a tendency to get damaged, especially if you're belly landing. So just be aware of that. You could cut it off and attach it with a magnet, because there's a good chance that you may knock it off if you're going to make this a dedicated belly lander. If you're using the landing gear, probably a little less of an issue. Especially if you're landing on a hard surface, you shouldn't have any issue at all with that. So, but I do like the idea that it is a magnetic nose, so if you do have a hard landing, it's going to bounce off. Next up, it is, we have a couple of missiles here. Not sure yet how these attach. We will find that out in the assembly video. Oddly enough, these kind of look like Harpoon anti-shipping missiles. I'm not sure exactly what they're supposed to be, but you do get some ordnance that comes with the aircraft, and yeah, from the looks of these, they appear to be Harpoon anti-shipping missiles. So we'll put those over here. And if you do fly with the missiles on, be advised that you're gonna have a little bit more drag. So the performance is gonna be just a little bit less if you have all this stuff on it. It's just like a real airplane. You look at an A-10 or something like that, and it's got all the ordnance hanging on it. It's gonna fly significantly slower than if you had all of that removed and the airplane was clean. It's just a matter of drag that causes that. These things obviously don't weigh much. They're all styrofoam, so it's not really a weight issue. These are supposed to be the sidewinders that go on the end of the wing. Proportionally, they're probably not going to win you any scale contests in terms of what an actual sidewinder missile looks like, but they are here and they are on the sidewinder launch rails that go on the outsides of the wings. So we'll move that. Next up, we have, looks like these are still taped in a little bit here, so let's go ahead and separate that. And if you've watched some of my other videos, you always, if you got tape like this, make sure you get it away from the airplane. I've had it where I get stuck on the airplane, you pull it off, next thing you know, you're missing some paint. So go ahead and get that out of the way. Okay. Next up, we have auxiliary fuel tanks. Right here, we got a pair of auxiliary fuel tanks. These are not bombs. These are auxiliary tanks. So we'll go ahead and set these off. I'm not 100% sure how these all attach yet. Normally, I like to read the manual before I get the airplane. I didn't get a chance to do that with this one yet, so oh well. We'll figure it out when we get the manual out. Okay. Now we have the horizontal stabilator and elevator. And we have these are the small little fins that are below the jet engine in the back here. They kind of come down at an angle on the bottom of the fuselage. Not sure if I would install these or not for a belly lander. These may get pretty well beat up or lost as a belly lander, and I really don't know if they're going to affect the flight performance or not if I decide, yeah, let's go ahead and leave them off. Or maybe I'll add magnets and tether them so they would just got to come off the back if I have a kind of a harder belly landing. When you land in grass, you get a couple different factors going on. If you're landing in really kind of tall grass, it's little details like that are probably going to be just fine because the grass is going to kind of cushion the aircraft as it kind of settles down. If you're flying on some really short grass that's more and it's hard packed, and you come in for a land on a belly lander, you're having actually more chance of having some issues. So just a little bit of a trade-off you get there, where if it's short grass, you can use the landing gear. If it's tall grass, it's probably a little bit better for a belly lander. However, remember too that the air intake is on the bottom here, so you want to make sure you're not sucking up debris inside the engine either. Next up, we have the landing gear, and it looks like all the push rods are in here. The bind plug is in here, so these are all situated. So it looks like the yep, and I can definitely confirm from looking at the pieces here, the control rods are not installed from the factory on these pieces, so we'll get that out of the way. We have the instruction manual. It's a pretty thick instruction manual too. Of course, there's a lot of languages inside here, so I'll be definitely reviewing this before we go ahead and start to build the aircraft. We have the vertical stabilator, and it's got the Lone Star Gunfighter livery on here, so it's a very bright colored aircraft. In fact, I've actually never seen this configuration of paint scheme before, but it's definitely bright, colorful, and very patriotic with the red, white, and blue. And of course, chances are I'll probably paint it something different anyway. As my favorite F-16s were always from the Michigan Air National Guard, with the yellow and black checkerboard on the tail. And I remember being in Civil Air Patrol when the Selfridge Air National Guard base had the F-16 stationed there, and these guys would come in, give us a tour of the aircraft. We went out and visited them a couple times, and of course they always look pretty cool too, because their airplanes have the yellow and black checkers on them, and they show up with the flight suits with the yellow and black checkered ascots. I mean, it's pretty classy. So that's probably the scheme that I would go with if I decide to actually repaint it. So we are now out to the last piece here, and that is the fuselage. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. There we go. So here is the fuselage of the E-Flite F-16 64mm. You can see there is the main air intake. It's got a supplemental air intake here on the bottom. These are where those ventral fins go. there's a look out the back, out the you can see the multi-blade 64mm EDF unit inside there. You can see all the servos are installed. The aileron servos, elevator servos are all on there. It is important to note that there is no rudder on this aircraft at all. The rudder is not needed or not installed. It looks like this is the somewhere on here. This needs to come off for the to put the battery in. I'm not sure which way it comes off. There we go. All right, so tongue and groove. Tongue's on the back, magnet on the front. You can see we got the AR636B already pre-installed. It has a nose gear servo in here as well, and then your battery compartment here for the 2200, either 3S or 4S battery. All of the servos are already plugged in, which is fantastic. It's one less thing to worry about. So that looks all good. Looks got Velcro in here and everything. And of course, this little magnetic hatch here. Here we go. Boy, that is a strong magnet. So on the bottom here, you can kind of see where the landing gear attach right here. And of course, they are fixed landing gear. They do not retract. So if you want to fly with the gear, they're either on or they are off. There's no retracting of the landing gear once they are down. So that's it. We are now out of pieces for the EDF F-16 Fighting Falcon, the 64mm here from E-Flite. This aircraft, I believe, has quite a bit of history. Or at least this airframe does. It's been named a few different things over the past, but this is the E-Flite version, which includes this is the bind and fly with SAFE installed and AS3X with the receiver. So it's not a PNP or an ARF. This is a bind and fly version, and overall it looks pretty good. I'm actually really happy with the scale detail on it, the way the panel lines look. Yeah, I think it's not going to win you any scale contests, but it's never meant to be winning a scale contest either. And I also look at this as being a wonderful kind of empty piece of canvas here for me to go play with and come up with some exciting paint schemes for it and change it up a little bit. Just do something just a little bit different. But for now, I'm going to leave it in this scheme for a while and use this to really kind of hone my EDF skills, because that's one area that I really don't have that much skill in, and I've identified that as a weak point in my my logbook. And I think this F-16 here is going to be fantastic. However, I'm going to admit, this airplane here, this EDF, is probably a little bit of a gateway drug, because everybody I know that once they start on EDFs, they end up buying more and more and more and more EDFs. So it's a little bit of a risk with that. However, my all-time love affair is always with my prop warbirds, my World War II stuff. But I'm excited to try something a little bit different, excited to add some flights to my logbook for an EDF, and excited to rip this thing through the air and fly it around at my club and really just get a kick out of going fast with an F-16. So if you guys got any questions on it, by all means, please leave your comments below. Subscribe, because we always have I got a lot of new stuff coming up, and I plan to do a lot more stuff with this aircraft too. So it should be a lot of fun to see what I do with it over time. The next video on this series will be putting this entire airplane together and then go flying it. So that's it for the unboxing of the E-Flite 64mm F-16 Fighting Falcon EDF.